Hello, everybody. So basically, I'm going to co-host today's webinar, Retrenchment Counseling, with our none than other expertise, Dr. Edward Chan. I suppose a lot of people that has gone through, I mean, a lot of us that's been through COVID-19, during this period of time, we've heard so much news about retrenchment. And it's so sad. I tell you an experience that I had. So prior to us moving back to Kuala Lumpur, we were living in in Australia. We were living in Kuala Lumpur, and the apartment that we were living in has a lot of expats living there. And some of during the COVID time, we've seen a few that had to pack up and leave. And as a result of retrenchment, and we felt for them. So I suppose during this time, as we recover into COVID-19, retrenchment seems inevitable for employees and employers. Whether things are, whether we like it or not, it is inevitable. So as therapists, part of the service that we would like to reach out to employees and as well as employers is to be able to do retrenchment counseling. So probably the first thing we could start, sorry for the busy movement in my background. So for a start, perhaps over to you, Dr. Edward. What is retrenchment counseling and why is it needed during this time?
Right, Sati, as you rightly said, we need this for both the employees, first of all, and it's also advantageous for the employer to provide this service, right? In fact, in our work in the International Psychology Center, over the past few months, we have been called to many organizations. I remember being called to an aviation company, right? And we were there and on the for 2 days where the company, the manager has already sent email to the employees to come in, right, to get the retrenchment file, right? And they call us in, for the full 2 days to be on standby in case any employee need to have a chat, a talk. So why would they want to do that, right? So it is advantageous for employer to do that because the employee might be very much disturbed, and even though they receive the email the night before or even a couple of days before, but to actually get the news physically, it can be a shock. Some of these employees have been working there for years or 20 years, and then or more, and have a lot of questions, right? Some of them feel it is, why me instead of some of the others, although they are like reasons, but sometimes, they don't get these reasons very, very clearly stated, So for a lot of people, their job is the identity, it is how we define ourselves, when we lose that, it is like, part of us died, right? Someone close to us died, so we need to grieve, like someone, dear to us have died. We need to go through a process of grieving. So that's why as therapists, we need to, just now we talk about emotional processing, in the supervision, and this is what we need to do to help our employees, our client process all these emotions of sadness, of anger. So in grief, there are a multitude of emotions, there was a famous psychologist called Roth, Cooper Ross, I think, will talk about the 7 stages of emotions in grieving. But now we know that it doesn't go through all these 7 stages necessarily, hierarchically, one by one. I mean, you have from like denial, that's it's okay for me, to all the way to anger, sadness, fear, right?
So am I correct to say that part as therapists, when you do retrenchment counseling, it is a similar process to grieving counseling?
A large part of it is, but of course, in addition, we also do the other part to help the employee prepare for what's next, right? All my life I see myself, as an engineer, but I always have a dream to be a teacher or something, So maybe now is the time to really connect with my passion, right? I need to be an engineer to earn a living, right? So it's time to find my true passion. So there's this other part, helping all the way to preparing a CV, to to maybe to find about the meaning of life. Now I have the time. What do I really want with life? Some people,
Actually, it's interesting you say that. So so it is quite important that as therapists, when we do retrenchment counseling, to emphasize on going through the stages of grieving, but also opened up opportunity and ways of how they can view a positive outlook from the retrenchment, and part of it is to channel their energy into passion.
And this is why company wants to do this. They don't want the employee living bitter, angry with the company. They want to, hopefully, we can't promise, but hopefully we were able to transform it all into positive energy, and employee then can reconnect to something meaningful in their lives, and the company then would have an image of being a caring company, and who knows, one day that I might need this employee again, and they'll be happy to come back, right? So
I suppose as an employer, as what you've mentioned before, providing that's fantastic that aviation company has done that. Actually, the person that I spoke to that lived in our apartment that got retrenched was from an aviation company,
right?
But he was from a French aviation company, so then his whole family had to go back to France. It's actually interesting that employers have or need to have that option of providing that for employees. I think it's very important to be able to support employees emotionally, because it's also a form of a stressful time for the whole family.
Very much so, and it's actually in the self-interest of the company to do that. Of course, this is a very good thing they do for employees, because research show it will actually minimize lawsuits and or sort of litigation and conflict against the company, because we are helping employee to process the emotion that they feel, then less angry with the employer. Why me? I was there longer. And they have all this question. Right.
As much as they have to execute the retrenchment, it is also a liability on the company side.
Very much so. Yes.
Very much so. Yes.
They're very liable, for lack of transparency and for having prejudicial action, discrimination. That can be,
I suppose the other thing is, I think that the company that you have been called to be on standby for providing counseling, probably is one of the companies that have the awareness to provide that for their employees. But in Malaysia, is that a common practice for company to get therapists and counselors on
Well,
standby?
that is why we are doing this webinar, to point to the advantage to raise awareness of this very, very valuable work, by companies to provide for the employee. Like you say, retrenchment might be inevitable, but how we go about it, can be influenced, right? It can be done well or not.
Yes, and also part of what the employees, the retrenched employees might go through is the stigma, and it is not. I mean, counseling is still a growing trend for people in many countries to be sitting down and openly speak about the trouble or the issues that they're trying to resolve. So this is still a stigma for a lot of people. So how can we encourage people to be more open to attend retrenchment counseling?
Yes, we need to educate, right? Both the employer and the employees that there's this whole complex process, series of emotions that one might get hits. You get depressed. You might get panic attack. Anxiety. All these psychological symptoms and disorders as a result of being retrenched if not handled properly. And to a large extent, these are normal. Of course, your 20 years of livelihood suddenly, although you might get a few months of salary, but the outlook is not good. The vaccination might be coming, but it's going to take a long time for, I would say, for the economy to bounce back. And so that's
I suppose it's also I agree in the sense that during this time when you have an employee has committed 20 years of their life, and I suppose for them monetary compensation can only go this much.
Yes, indeed.
It's what afterwards the repercussion on emotion or the impact on the psychological impact and on the employees not having a job is what needs to be addressed in retrenchment counseling. But are people coming forward? Are people very courageous open to come forward?
This is why the facility needs to be provided, if possible, by the employer, right? It's already paid for. We are on standby, for these few days, and some organization want us to be, even on standby for 3 months, even after the employee left. They want this service to be accessible, all paid for by the employer. Right. So yes, to the extent, especially if it is provided by the employer, then the employee would feel more encouraged to take this up, but if you need to pay for it yourself again, and so you might think twice, right? Whether I need to or not. So there's a lot of education that needs to be imparted for employees, the individual to realize that, of all these emotional symptoms that they suffer, insomnia and anxiety is a normal response, right, to the loss of their career, to the loss of their identity, right, and the need to find a new meaning in their life.
I suppose for those employees that's been retrenched, that identity, parting with that identity, needs to be needs to be talked about and also managed in terms of emotion. But the impact that it has on the family is also quite significant, because you're
Yes.
talking about financial, you're talking
Mm.
about kids going to school, about the life
Yes.
that they used to have
Mm.
before. So it's a
The
complete
lifestyle. Yeah.
change.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yes. So
Yeah.
now is the time to think small. If you know,
Reprioritize.
reprioritize. I like that word. Yes, reprioritize. And to be honest,
Mm.
as much as it's important that
Mm.
we provide the retrenchment counseling, how about the family that are involved, the stress? Because say for example, the person that is employed for 20 years has a family. So does
Mm.
that mean that I mean, retrenchment counseling provided to the employee is good, but how about the family setting itself, like a family counseling
Mm.
in order to understand further?
Yes, yes, you're right there. I think this will bring it one step further, and I would definitely recommend this to organizations that this
Mhm.
facility be provided to the whole family as well, not just to the employee. I think yeah, this has not been taken up as much as we would like it to, but I would say it is equally important to have this
Yes.
facility for the whole family, so the whole family can talk about their emotions, their fear, their disappointment,
Mhm.
their sadness, because this impact the whole family. You're right,
It
not
does.
just
It
not
does.
just the breadwinner, right?
Yes,
The
and one of the things that I managed to do, so because I've already secure myself a space for the
mm,
clinic to run, and hopefully we launch on the 1st of December here. So I then went around to the city of Coburn, which is where the clinic is going to be based. It's the municipality of city of Coburn, and I had a chat there, and they say that mental health issues is on the rise at the
mm,
moment, particularly men. Uh, what happened here is, I think Malaysia does the same thing. They are handed out assistance in terms of monitoring.
right.
So what it does now, a lot of people that are accepting this money are telling themselves that they don't want to work, not
Mm,
because they're retrenched. They feel
right.
that they're accepting this money as a form of assistance, but then forgetting that it's they can also choose to work, but they're not choosing to work.
Ah, right,
So
right.
so at the moment in Perth, there's people spending a lot of the economy itself is
Mm,
booming because people are spending a lot of money that the government are giving. But yet the young generation or the middle-aged generation are not
mm,
putting themselves out there. And even to get the smallest service done, you are on the waiting list for 2 months because nobody wants to work.
mm.
So the
Wow.
impact
Uh-huh.
then becomes bigger because it involves family. Their
Mm,
wives don't understand why that's happening to them. Their kids don't understand why dad doesn't want to go to work. So ours is on the opposite side of the retrenchment. Ours
mm.
here is more because the government is giving a lot of free money.
Right.
People to help during the pandemic.
Mm,
People are feeling a little bit blasé about employment.
mm. Right, right.
So
That's
it's also
interesting. Yeah.
impacting on family as well.
Yeah. So that might affect some, question about meaning, um,
Yes,
of
yes, and as far as I'm
mm,
concerned, it is also affecting the United Kingdom as well, because of the
mm,
money that's being given out. People are choosing not to go to work,
right.
and that becomes sort of the same, not retrenchment, but
Mm,
more not wanting to be employed. during this time
Right. Yeah.
because of
That is another set of problems.
it is that's what COVID has created, isn't it?
Yes. But
Mm, mm, mm.
for us folks in Malaysia, we don't have that luxury. I think
Yes,
you don't get work, you will starve on the streets.
yes.
There is no
It's
fallback.
amazing, because the country is very strong here on
Yes.
social help on
Mm.
in
Yes.
countries where social welfare is a
Indeed.
very
Yeah.
uh,
Mm.
strong there's a strong fight to
Yeah.
assist people socially.
Mm. Yeah. I would
So
say, Mm.
yeah, so going back to retrenchment counseling,
Mm.
so the process of the counseling should be taking through the employees through some parts of similar to a grieving process, which is denial,
Yes.
anger,
Mm.
sadness,
Indeed.
and some
Indeed.
form of depression.
Yes. And
Yeah,
to redefine your identity and even your meaning
redefine.
and even your meaning of life. All right.
Mm-hmm,
So I define myself as an engineer or as a
mm-hmm.
teacher. And now who
Yes,
am I? Right. I'm no
yes.
longer a teacher, and I'm no longer my job role. Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you need to, and this is especially true for men, right? You were saying it affected men a lot more, but
Yes.
because for women, they are like they have multi roles. They're also a mother, and but for men,
Mm-hmm.
they're just the breadwinner normally.
Yes,
So
it's the
when the
sick,
job,
it's the
mm,
loss of identity.
yes, very much so,
Mm,
loss of identity and loss of meaning of life in
mm,
a way,
mm,
right? If
mm,
I define myself as my the role, my role in society is that, we often do that,
mm,
especially men. So now, who am I? What is the
mm,
meaning of my life?
mm. It,
So
I
yeah.
suppose with that, it's also in this time. I mean, the ones that are majorly affected will be men. But then, how can we encourage? How I understand you said knowledge. We should be more informing employers, uh, because I think it's still a stigma for them to come forward to attend counseling, and it wouldn't get to a stage where I
Mm,
suppose that's a barrier. It's a barrier that men always felt, that attending counseling is not something they'll do.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Therefore emotions are coming sideways. So how can we break
mm,
this barrier, making it easier for them to understand that there
yes.
is a need for counseling?
Yes. So maybe we need to rename it from
Yes,
retrenchment counseling.
to be honest, that is a
Yes.
good idea.
You need to find a
It
new
is a
name.
good idea.
You need to find a new name
Yes,
because there's a lot
yes.
of stigma involved there. First of all,
It's
retrenchment.
yes. Don't use the word retrenchment. Don't use the word
About
counseling.
counseling. Well,
Yes.
counseling, yeah. So yes. So maybe existential therapy or something.
Yeah.
So redefining my life. Um,
Yes.
life coaching, meaning of life
Yes.
coaching.
Yes. Do you know
Something
that
like
that
that.
that that was one of the things that I thought of actually when
Mm,
opening up the clinic, because I do want to reach out to men here, as part
right.
of the service, that I wanted them to come forward. So I'm hoping to just launch a book club, by the way.
Ah, right,
I'm not
right.
launching anything in this in the name of counseling or therapy. I'm launching a
Right.
book club,
Yeah.
and then things comes
Mm,
out. People bring
Right.
books and we discuss. So maybe as therapists, correct me if I'm wrong, we should be thinking a little bit more
Yes.
creative
Indeed. Yes.
to
That
lure them. Yeah.
yeah. To provide a space for conversation, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That
Yes.
don't have a lot of this stigma involved. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
And I tell you the idea that my husband and I have been concocting. We actually bought a space for a cafe.
Ah.
So yeah,
Right.
so the cafe is going to be called Reality Beaten. And
Ah.
when we launch it, we are opening a competition to let the public write what reality beaten means to them.
Mm.
But because it's also a coffee shop, people are coming in, and we are encouraging community to come forward. And the book club as part of an initiative to get them to come forward and start conversations.
Mm. Great idea. Great idea. I
Yeah,
think some way to invite people in
yes,
to start a conversation, a space. Yeah.
yes, because because we're targeting a gender that finds it very difficult to be
Mm.
vulnerable.
Yes. The
I
male.
think the male
The
and
male.
the ego and the
Yeah.
stigma, and they don't
Indeed.
want to be seen as attending therapy. Even the word psychotherapy,
Mm.
a lot of them
Yes.
directly have
Mm.
inference to mental health when
Yes.
you mention the word
Indeed.
therapy.
Indeed, because
Uh,
it is all part of the traditional male role to bring back the bacon, right? Bring home the
that's right.
bacon.
That's right.
And now
That's
the
right.
bacon is lost.
Yes. So I feel
Yes.
that as much as it is so fortunate, it's so fortunate for employees to be employed by employers that are aware of all this
Mm.
emotional turmoil that
Yes.
they will go through during retrenchment. But at the same time,
Mm.
as therapists, we want to be able to put ourselves out there,
Yes. Very true.
and
Very true. Yes. Yes.
having a very
Mm.
creative, innovative sense to get
Yeah.
them to come,
Mm.
is
Indeed.
to come
Indeed.
forward.
Yeah. So yes. So the whole conversation on about family, of family therapy, I think is very important. That's
Mhm.
the male, feels that their worth as the breadwinner is
Mhm.
challenged, right?
Mm,
And that needs to be redefined. That they might feel worthless as a result of being retrenched. I've
yes.
no more use in my family, right? So
Mhm.
all this needs to be discussed and redefined.
Mm,
What is your value, your worth in the family if you cannot work, you
mm,
cannot bring home the bacon. What other value do you have, right?
yeah.
So traditionally the male has been seen only as
Mm,
stats. You are only as
mm,
valuable as the money you bring back to support the
yes.
family, right?
Yes. And
Mm.
Dr. Edward, can I ask, in terms of counseling techniques or
Mm.
questions,
Yes.
I do understand the sensitivity of it when you're working with men who have that traditional role. And
Mm.
how would you then carefully or with a lot of sensitivity speak about losing identity? Because I believe that uh,
Mm.
them coming to speak will be about losing the job, but not so much on
Yes.
losing their identity.
Identity and meaning, that
Mm,
their value, in the family. So all this, we need to create a space to
mm-hmm,
help them think and reflect. upon these other terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the technique that I would use would be more akin to that of collaborative therapy, right? Which was created by Harlin Henderson, right? She actually wrote a book called Collaborative Therapy, and and it's all about having a dialogue, creating a dialogue, creating a generative dialogue. So she likened the role of the therapist as a host, like what we're doing now. We are having a friendly chat. So the role of the therapist she would see as a host, and the patient will be a guest, to a house where they feel comfortable, at ease to have a conversation, right? A generative conversation, a dialogue, right? So with a dialogue, then it will be generative. Ideas will come. That needs, things that need to be addressed will be addressed, and you will have generative new ideas, and transformative ideas that will come about from that space of relaxation, of openness, right? So the therapist would, rather than having some, we have a few things, we want to address, like identity, role of the family, and all that, but we're not going to limit ourselves or even impose this onto the patients, right? We're just going to create this space, this open space, right? Of having a dialogue, and from there, then the conversation and even solution would evolve, right? From that dialogue, of interplay between the therapist and the clients. And in fact, you wouldn't even know who is the therapist and who is the client.
That's interesting. I'm actually a big fan of that, Dr. Edward.
Yes.
I'm truly a big fan of that. I think therapy can happen in conversations.
Yes.
At the same time, to be a good to be one that can create that ambiance and let your guests feel like they are at ease to share.
Yes.
Is a skill. It's a skill that one need to
and it's a skill, both a skill and an attitude.
An attitude,
right?
Yeah.
You need to be, you need to have this openness, right? And Harlin would talk about emptiness, right? You need to leave all your knowledge and assumptions outside the therapy room, and come into your house like a Zen master, professing that you do not know, you're ready to listen, without judgment of everything.
I think from experience, both it will work significantly with both men and women, but also particularly men, because then you're not creating that stigma. Your environment you're normalized. You're having a conversation like you're having a conversation with a friend.
Right. Exactly.
No judgment.
Exactly.
And two-person exchanging expertise.
Yeah. Indeed. In equal terms. With equal value and worth. Yes. We have a question
I like
about
that. Yes, we have a question from Barbara. Yes. And let me see. You can learn a skill. How can we build an attitude?
Yes. So the attitude, so what we talk about openness is an
Mm,
attitude, right?
mm,
But it is also related to skills,
mm,
right? How do you have an open attitude, non-judgment attitude? Of course, Roger, right? Carl Rogers, talk all about that. This is the whole point about client-centered therapy, right?
mhm, mhm,
In fact, when I got my training in client-centered therapy, it's from one of a Rogerian professor. Can't remember her name. It's also Barbara. Barbara from Rutledge University. I did a workshop with her, and she's of this. Skills, if you like, of
mhm.
totally not um, paraphrasing anything, right? I
Yeah.
mean, she would insist of not having her input on anything. So we were just sitting there like with few hundred therapists,
Mm,
and she wouldn't say anything, right? She's a
mm,
facilitator. So then one participant said, what are we doing here? What are we waiting for? So she just reflected on that, and also so you are wondering what we are waiting for.
mm.
It's like that. So I really learned a lot from that, because to the extent that we start putting in our input on things, we would then change the
Mm,
whole tone of the conversation. So this is one extreme end of openness. So we
mm, mm,
um
mm.
and certainly Harlin talk a little bit about that
Mm.
she would never, like I know that in our previous supervision session, Kamini was asking me what if, like you find that your the patient have values that are dysfunctional. Do you like start to educate them and all that? Well, the Harlin would say, you don't offer your perspective, unless you are really invited, by the client, what do you think? What shall I do? Then
Mm.
what you do would offer it in as part of multiple, suggestions, right?
Yes.
One thing you can think about, but this is only like one out of many possible things
Mm,
you can think about, maybe to um, do this, right?
mhm, mhm.
To the enroll in a college or whatnot. You have a suggestion, but you frame it as part of a perspective, rather than saying this is the thing to do. So that would
Yes.
be a monologue. So we
Mm.
said dialogue, to contrast it from a monologue. So a dialogue is an
Yes.
open-ended, interplay, dynamic, generative conversation, as opposed to a monologue, which a lot of therapists get into, doing. That will,
Mhm.
that was the tradition of Freud. I'm the expert. I'm telling you, what you
What
think.
to do?
You want to have sex with your mother, and then the patient would object. That prove me right. Reaction formation, right? So whatever you
Yes.
say, it just prove my point. So that is,
Yes.
not openness, and all started
I,
by
I, I,
Freud.
sup- yes, I suppose when it comes to attitude, I can't think of how to answer that, Barbara, like in terms of building an attitude. I think barriers to an attitude I can think of. If you're sitting there, you're feeling very egoistic, this is a barrier to attitude. Sorry, this is a barrier to an openness of an attitude. So
Well,
if you are sitting there with
may,
the
may, may,
judgmental,
maybe maybe attitude is not the right term. What we are talking about is being itself.
being,
Yeah.
mhm, yes,
Your beingness, being open is a being. in
Yes.
the way you are, right? That
Yes.
you are open.
How you present yourself to other people, how
Yeah,
people react to
how,
your
yeah.
energy.
Well, this is what Roger talked about,
Mm.
authenticity, right? Being
Yes,
authentic.
authenticity.
Yeah,
Authenticity.
being authentic, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
this is the 180-degree swing from Freud, right?
yes.
So Freud sits at the back, of the patient, because he wants to hide from the patient, right?
Mm-mm.
He would sit behind the patient, and so the patient, he would say, so that is not, he will not influence the patient, but in reality he just want to not show himself, whereas Roger wants to present your warts and all, in front of the patient, to be your
Mm.
authentic self. If you
Mm.
are distracted by something, then you show that, I'm somewhat
Yes,
distracted, I'm worried myself, within reason, you
yes,
present your authentic self.
yes. I
Right.
think like Barbara, I tend to agree. That's a very good word that you've just used, being.
Mm, yeah,
Mm?
being,
It
yes,
kind of self-explanatory, and authenticity is probably one of the word that comes with being, but it's just your presence towards
yes,
others.
yeah, your
Huh?
your your authentic presence,
Your
without,
authentic
yeah. Mm,
presence. Now,
indeed.
the question that I will go back to collaborative therapy with Holly and Henderson.
Mm,
Now I have a question. What about boundaries? How do
right.
you, I mean, yes, I love the idea of that. I love having the chat and
Mm,
just being myself, and
yes.
having my guests feel that they can share,
Mm,
things with me. But
yeah.
what about the question of boundaries? As that, does
Yes.
it exist?
So yeah. So in the same way that I work with children. I don't go into the therapy room with the children with a set of ground rules. You don't do this and you don't do that. Some therapists do that. Before they start the
Yes.
session, that they would say, this long list of rules that you can't do, right? So we on what I would do is, when something make me feel uncomfortable, right? Then I will express that will be my authentic self. When the you know um, child start to touch my
Mm-hmm.
nose, I would say, yeah, my nose is not for touching, but if I feel comfortable with it, okay, why not, right? So
Yes.
it depends. When something I'm not prepared to accept, then I would voice it out as,
Mm-hmm.
this is not something I would accept,
Yeah.
in our
Yes.
interaction.
And I suppose in collaborative therapy, like you said, communication and clarification is very
Mm,
important. Yeah?
indeed,
So
indeed.
anything the therapist, as I mean, I wouldn't call a therapist, because Haleen Henderson said
Mm,
it's between a host and a guest. So
exactly. Yes.
as the host,
Mm,
as long as I know that the chat or the conversation, the generative conversation that's happening,
yes.
um, I'm at a level where I'm comfortable. But anything that arise
Mm, that make
uncomfortability
yes.
has to be addressed there and then.
Indeed. Yes.
Mm.
Rather than
Openness,
exactly.
openly.
Yes. And
Mm.
this is the being we are talking about. It is no different to how I relate to my spouse, right? To
Yes,
my child. So this
yes,
is the authentic being that
yes,
we
yes,
also display.
yes,
That we bring with us with our
yes.
patient. Mm.
Okay. The other question I have is, what if our openness to to clarify on a matter, create some tension or creativity, tension or sensitivity, and that kind of puts a T-junction from generating future conversations.
So we need to clarify what this tension is about, right? Yeah. I mean, do you have like any specific example of possible?
I wouldn't think of anything specific, but if I were to be in that kind of conversation, the reason why I brought up boundaries are because I have a very open personality and a very positive presence. And when
I can think of some, right? Say, you know, the patient say, you know, you know, can I right, invite you to the party or something like that, and you
because
right.
I am talking about my guest is a male.
Right.
And when you have that positive and you are being yourself, it can be misconstrued.
Right.
Because you are very, very open to listening, and you know, you do have transference. A lot of transference happen.
Transference
during
and
that process.
Counter transference. Right.
Counter transference.
So then, you know, most likely you would not accept that, right? And in most you know, the practices, you know, of like membership, we would not want to have I mean, but that is not, you know, necessarily you know, and need to be adhere. It depends on the your professional affiliation and all that, but a lot of you know, professional practice that I would not want to have social relationship, right, with their patients. You know, I'm not saying like that is definitely a no. It depends on the association and things like that. So if you like say no, and so the possible tension could be the patient could take that as a rejection, right?
Yes.
And that is where the tension arise, and especially, you know, and of course in collaborative therapy we don't want to impose labels and all that, but if you have a patient, you know, with you know, a diagnosis of like a borderline personality disorder that might, you know, or a rejection abandonment schema that might then be very troubled by that, and that might then have a up reaction, you know, and tension. So we were talking about that, but then that is also an opportunity for therapy, right? To then is a therapeutic opportunity that you say, like, you know, I you know, I'm saying no to that invitation, but not rejecting you as a person, right? I still value, you know, our relationship very much. It's just that this is not something I do, you know, going to party with my patient. Right. So it's an opportunity then to also a space to discuss, you know, things.
And yes, it is very interesting. It's something which I definitely will incorporate into my practice, but I'm one that is quite realist, so I understand that can happen, and counter transference can happen quite often than not, because you are being the good listener. You're opening your energy channel for the person to sort of understand their perspective, and them to actually feel very comfortable with what you're saying as well. And very often that counter transfer might happen. So I think it's very good prior to the launching, that I know all that, because sometimes you can froze or no matter how comfortable or you're being yourself, you then consider, I would want, as a therapist, consider, okay, rejection. What is this person's scheme? Or that will probably be the first thing that comes into my mind. So
Well,
I think
yeah, I mean, on the other hand, I wouldn't, like I mentioned, I wouldn't think of all the boundaries first, right? And I would only like address them as they arise.
As they arise, yes.
Yeah, as they unfold. So I'm not going to limit myself, restrict myself from saying this or doing, so this is the idea of collaborative therapy. We don't even have a diagnostic labels, right? And we don't think, oh, this patient is borderline, I better not say that, so you don't come into the therapy room with all these labels, right? So we totally treat them as a worthy guest, an honorable guest, and we have this authentic generative conversation with them, and deal with any issue that arise as they arise, rather than preempting them.
Yes, and I'm glad we covered collaborative therapy, and also you went in depth a little bit talking about the techniques and what happened in collaborative therapy, because I think that it is important to include that in retrenchment counseling.
Yes, because of all
the
this
nature of it.
Indeed, it is a lot wider than just finding, losing a job. It's this thing to your role in the family, your identity, your meaning of life. So we need to have a lot of openness,
Yes. And I think I also think in retrenchment counseling is also quite important to let the guests be the expertise, because they need to express.
Yes.
Conversations is what is needs to happen in order to talk about issues, but not issues.
Yeah, I mean, they are the expert in their own lives, in the job that they had, in their family. So indeed, but we also bring in our some perspective. So together we collaborate and generate some new transformative ideas and solution, hopefully.
Yes. Let me check if we have questions. So no question. We've got 3 minutes into the talk, everybody. So is there any question
yes,
from our audience about collaborative therapy, or any form of question that you might feel you want the answers to?
Right.
So no questions?
We will be doing this again in Malay and Chinese in successive weeks.
Interesting. And you will be doing this in Malay, Dr. Edward?
I will try. I will try. But we have
you have to give me the
Liana.
date.
We have Liana. I don't think she's here, but she'll be hosting in
but I think it's a good initiative, Dr. Edwards. I think providing it in multilingual is very very good.
So we can be more inclusive, right? Yeah.
Yes. And I'm glad I'm doing this webinar today with you, because once I launch, I might get a lot of appointments for some sort retrenchment counseling
related. Yes.
Related. Yes.
Wow.
I'm glad I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and look forward to hearing from you. You know
Yes,
how it all
I
goes,
would.
and wish you
Yes,
all the best
yes, yes. There's quite a little bit
your
more.
opening.
Yes, I will definitely announce it. There's still paperwork and all those,
Mm,
stuff to
right.
as you know how you have to
Mm,
register
right.
the business name and all the
Right.
things that
Right.
related to it. Yeah. So it is an
Super.
interesting. Yes.
Great. I
Yeah.
think we yeah, go ahead. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Mm.
everybody, thank you for listening
Yes.
in. And as much as it's been quite a joy to do this with Dr. Edward on the topic of retrenchment counseling, I hope it's helped everybody in one way or another, provide some knowledge and some kind of
Mm.
development for yourself. So thank
Yes.
you, everybody.
Yes, thank you. And for me, I believe it has been a nice generative conversation.
Yes, very good.
Transformative.
From a person who's what do you call it, a being to a being.
We are able to exhibit our authentic being.
Yes, authentic being, that's it.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Dr. Edward.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.